So we're going to start looking at this idea of vector. Now, in order to give you the best possible kind of well-rounded view of what a vector actually is, I want to give you loads of different definitions for it, because actually the concept of a vector is different depending on which situation you're looking at it in. So, I mean, one of the ways of looking at a vector, in fact, the physicist's point of view from looking at a vector, is it is just simply a quantity excellent, that has magnitude magnitude and direction. Yeah, good, well remembered. Okay, and now in actual fact, this is the physicist's point of view of what a vector is. So if you go up to a physicist and you say, right, what is a vector? This is likely the definition that they will give you. Okay, now magnitude, what does magnitude mean? Kind of, it's just a size, right? It's just a size. So it's a fancy word for size, value of something, right? So it's a quantity that has a magnitude and a direction. So for example, if I said, right, what's the difference between speed and velocity? Well, can anybody tell me what is the difference between velocity and speed, or speed and velocity? Okay, but we haven't used that language yet, so just tell it in language everyone can understand.
Velocity is basically... Oh my god, I want to remember. Okay, I don't know the differences because I know that one you have something that is decreasing all the time, and one is more stable. Velocity, something like this.
Good. I heard something there. So velocity has a direction associated with it. We all know what speed is, right? If I'm traveling at 30 miles an hour, I'm traveling at 30 miles every single hour. Okay, that's my speed. But if I put a direction in there as well, then I'm talking about velocity. So for example, if I'm traveling at 30 miles an hour in that direction towards London, then that's a velocity. Is that okay? Yeah? So I heard this word a scalar being talked about. A scalar is just simply a quantity that has a value. It's just got nothing else but just a value. So this we would call a scalar. In other words, it just has a magnitude. Okay? Whereas velocity also has a direction associated, hence it is a vector. Okay? Another example would be distance versus displacement. So if I say, right, I'm going to walk from here, walk across the room 2 steps, and then walk back 2 steps, my distance that I've covered is 4 steps. Is that okay? But my displacement has a direction associated with it as well. My displacement is measured from how far I've moved from where I've started. So what's my displacement? So what's my displacement? It's 0, right? Because I haven't moved from where I've started. So my displacement is 0, but my distance is 4 steps. Does that make sense? Yeah? So it's the difference between a scalar and a vector. In that case, distance would be a scalar, it's just simply an amount, whereas displacement would be a vector because it also has a direction associated with it as well. Okay? But anyway, that's a physicist's perspective of what a vector is. Another definition of what a vector could be is just simply a list of numbers. Okay? So just simply a list of numbers. And this would be the definition of a computing perspective. So if you're into your coding, then you'll come across vectors as just simply a list of numbers. Okay? So it's a list of numbers just written in an array or something. Okay? But the way which we're going to look at vectors is it will just be, and I'd like you to write this one down, a movement from one point to another. Okay? Now that is the definition of what a vector is from our perspective. In actual fact, this is the geometric point of view. Okay, so this is from the point of view of geometry. It's just simply a movement from one point to another, and that is the definition of what I want you to understand as a vector. Okay, so just be aware, vectors are incredibly useful for lots of different situations. And it depends which situation you're looking at, which determines the definition. So from our perspective, we're just going to think in terms of geometry. So we want that a vector is just a movement from one point to another.